if you look from Monday, how the system has improved, that system is now operating normal. All the high-lying areas are getting normal supply. We have from the supply or the use of
For the intervention.
How far back should I go, ma'am?
Just on interventions.
The interventions within the commando system, if I can just go back, as I indicated, what we are doing currently, we are providing those areas that are affected with supplementing supply with roaming water tankers. That's the first intervention that we're doing. Secondly, we are also closing the outlet of the reservoir in the evenings so that we can build capacity for supplying, especially the morning peak. But what we are also doing, we are looking at supplementing the supply into the area using the supply from another zone, and that would then be what we call water shifting. So we will be shifting from one zone to another so that we can try and assist that area. If we go to the next area that I presented, it's the South Hill area. And as indicated, the supply to the South Hill area has improved in the last 6 days. The Kleppersberg, which is the main reservoir that supplies your South Hill tower, has improved in terms of its level. It's currently sitting at 31% from around 17 last week. And as a result, it has then made it possible for us to be able to supply the area with continuous pumping within that zone. The next one is the Crown Garden Reservoir area. And as I indicated, the improvement in the rainwater system has allowed the Crown Garden to recover. And in the last week, that system has been operating normally. You would note from the levels that it's been going from around 70% on Monday all the way to around 90% this morning. And that system, it's basically operating normally. The other system that was had challenges, it's the Eagle Nest Reservoir. It has also improved. If you look at the capacity, it has been building from around 5% on Monday, and it has actually improved all the way to around 35% this morning. And the Eagle Nest basically has two reservoirs that it supplies, which is the Alan Manor Reservoir and the Naturena Reservoir. And as you can see, both those reservoirs are quite high. So that system as well, it's basically operating normally. If we jump onto the Berea system, the Berea system also has improved if you compare to last week. We normally get around 3.5 bar, but we currently getting around 1.5 bar, which then allowed the system to improve in terms of the level. On Monday, we started the week at 26%, and it has improved all the way to around 40%. The outlet is fully open, and the area that are supplied by the Berea Reservoir currently are getting water. In times where we don't have enough capacity within the Berea system, then we also supplement the supply with the roaming water tankers. But I also need to indicate that your Berea supply is shared with our Parktown 2 reservoirs. and we normally swap them around in terms of supply so that we can try and balance the system. So that's another intervention that we do. The meter closure that is done in terms of the bulk supply meters, we continue with that. That is ongoing. This is basically an intervention that will speed up the recovery of the rainwater system. And as you've seen, within 7 days, I think we've made a improvement of around 1.5%. And if you look at the size of the rainwater system, that's a big improvement. The system, it's quite a big system, so 1% is quite a big improvement in the space of time. So the intervention that we do in terms of closing is assisting in speeding up the recovery. So that intervention is continuing. And what we are also doing, we are also throttling some of the reservoir supply so that we are able to supply or build up the system recovery reserves quite quicker so that we can get to the target that we have set for ourselves. Those are some of the meters that we are continuing to restrict. That's it from the system update, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mzake. I will now hand over to Mr. Joseph Mukwala, who's the portfolio manager at Capex, to give a presentation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the technical issues. Just need to stick out. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, once more. As introduced, my name is Joseph Mukwala, the portfolio manager at Capex. I will be presenting on the Brixton STO Crosby challenges, as Zach has indicated that it's one of the areas that we are facing some difficulties in terms of the work operations. I won't go through the challenges as my colleague, Mr. Mzake Mkhize, has indicated, has talked much on them.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh. One, two, presentation, please.
Yeah, as Zaki indicated, Brixton STO and Crosby is one of the areas where we are facing some difficulties in terms of water supply, and we've adopted immediate, medium, and long-term interventions. And as Capex, we are administering those interventions for a Capex perspective. I won't dwell much on the challenges. Yeah. But in terms of the problems, interventions, and the status of the interventions in the Crosby, Hestill, and Brixton area. The first constraint or challenge that we face is the constrained bulk supply from rainwater. As an intervention, we've opted on constructing a 3.3 kilometer, 1 meter diameter pipeline from the commando line.
We maybe for the benefit of the colleagues that are joining on Teams, let me just start with the interventions and the challenges that we are facing. The first constraint is the constrained bulk supply from the rainwater side, and the intervention that we've adopted there is the construction of a 3.3 kilometer, 1 meter diameter pipeline from the commando line to the Crosby pump station. The objective of this intervention will be to increase water supply on the Crosby pump station, and it will also mitigate against the system collapse. The status of the intervention, the project is at tender stage. The BSc preparation is currently underway, and it's earmarked for presentation at the bid specification committee in mid-November 2023, which is this year. And the second constraint that we are experiencing is the dead storage at the Crosby Reservoir. So as part of an intervention, it's a short-term intervention because it's immediate. Those are low-lying fleets that we can benefit from. We've opted on reconfiguring the Crosby pump station section line to eliminate dead storage, because as it stands, the Crosby Reservoir has a capacity of about 46 megaliters, and we are only using 20 megaliters. So the reconfiguration of this pump station will also help in terms of alleviating or eliminating that dead storage, and it will yield some fruitful results. In terms of the status of that intervention, we've appointed a contractor to undertake the Brixton Reservoir on the Brixton Reservoir contract, and the scope is packaged within that contract, and it's anticipated that the work will be undertaken within this year, because that's an immediate intervention. And the other constraint that we are experiencing is an outdated and unreliable equipment at the Crosby pump station. And as an intervention, we've opted on retrofitting the whole Crosby pump station and modernizing the equipment and standby, and also given the challenges that we are experiencing in terms of load shedding and intermittent power supply, we've opted on including a standby generator to make the system more reliable. And the objective of that intervention will be providing reliable pumping to the existing and the new Brixton Reservoir that we are currently constructing. And in terms of the status of that intervention, we do also be packaged as part of the constraint that I've indicated as number one in terms of the rainwater supply upgrade. It's at BSc stage, and it's anticipated to be presented at BSc mid-November. And then fourth constraint or challenge that we are facing on the Brixton Hestill Crosby supply line is a constrained storage at the Hestill Reservoir. So in terms of the current storage capacity that we have, we only have 6 hours storage, and as my colleague Mzake has indicated, for reservoirs we need about 24 hours of storage capacity, and given that we can only have 6 hours, it's quite a big challenge for us. And how we're mitigating against that constraint is by constructing a pump station at Crosby and a 600 millimeter diameter rising main to lift water to the reservoir complex. And that the objective of the intervention will be to increase the storage capacity from 6 hours to the prescribed or standardized 24 hours storage capacity. The intervention is also at tender stage, and it's part of the package that will be presented at BSc mid-November, and it will be tabled to then. And the sixth and last the fifth and last intervention constraint that we are experiencing is the constrained storage at the Brixton Reservoir, which has about 6 hours storage and 4 hours on the tower. And how we're mitigating against this challenge or this intervention in this regard is to construct the 26 megaliter reservoir, a 2.2 megaliter tower, a pump station, upgrading of the line from the old Crosby reservoir onto the new from the old Brixton reservoir onto the new Brixton reservoir. And the objective of this intervention will be to restore 6 hours on the tower zone and maintain 24 hours on the reservoir zone. So this intervention is currently in construction. The construction commenced on the 24th of July 2023. It's anticipated for completion on the 11th of March 2025. We've met some challenges when the project was initiated, but we will fast track the implementation of the intervention. Okay. Yeah, those are the medium to long-term measures that we've implemented. As I've indicated, there's 2 packages that one we've taken out, it's on construction, and the other one is still at BSC. So I'll just give a breakdown of the detailed packages. So the first one is the one that I've indicated that it's at BSC stage, and it will be presented at BAC mid-November. So the packages, it's divided into 5 sub-packages, 5 sub-packages or components. The first component is upgrading of the Crosby pump station, pumping into the Hestfield Reservoir. The next intervention is a new pump station from the Crosby to the Brixton Reservoir. And the third sub-package is the new line, 1.2 kilometer line from Crosby to Hestfield Reservoir. And the other intervention is the 3.4 kilometers from existing Water chamber to the Crosby Reservoir. So that intervention, it has an estimated cost of about 130 million with a projected duration of 16 months, and it's anticipated to commence construction in September 2024. The next one is the Brixton Reservoir Tower Pump Station, and including the Crosby reconfiguration, as I indicated, to kill the dead storage at Crosby Reservoir. So that package is divided into 5 sub-elements as well. The first component is the construction of a 26 megaliter reservoir. The second is the 2 megaliter tower. And the third component is the construction of a new pump station. And the third sub-component is the pipework from the existing Brixton Reservoir to the new reservoir complex. And the fifth and last is the reconfiguration of the Crosby Reservoir to eliminate dead storage. And it's anticipated to be completed in March 2025, as I've indicated. And that's just a breakdown. That's it from my end in terms of the Brixton, Hestfield, and Crosby interventions. Thank you.
So much, Joseph. I'm not sure if Victor, there's anything you'd like to add, or can we take questions?
I think for me, I just wanted to talk about the South Hills water problems. Thank you. Okay, for South Hills, we didn't prepare a presentation, but what I want to say is that we met with Water team as well as Johannesburg Water, and we identified what we can do to improve supply to South Hills, and we grouped them as immediate, in the medium term, that is within 3 months, and then also the long term beyond that. As you can see from the results, there were some intervention from Water, And by the way, we're doing this internally, as well as interventions from Johannesburg Water that were supposed to be done. And we expect that we'll be done with these activities by the end of October. With regard to South Hills, we're trying to reduce the zone that the tower supply to make it smaller so that the existing old pump station flow rate can be managed and equal or even above the rates at which the reservoir or the tower is supplying the customers. And one of the things that we could see by Monday, we expanded the zone that can be supplied straight from Randwater. I mean, removing it from the tower, and most of the people started reporting that they are now getting water supply. And then for the medium term, we're looking at reconfiguring the pump station that we projecting to be done within 3 months. And then in the long term, we then have proposed a new long-term solution, which will be looking at providing additional storage for the pump and not depend